Chapter 51. Save My Child. Lin Ruirui was not dead. After Guan Ruirui dropped her and ran away in a hurry, she was rescued in time. Although the child was gone, she at least kept her life. It wasn't until her daughter was sent to the hospital that Lin's mother learned what her daughter had suffered at school in the past. Lin Ruirui's father died early, and Lin's mother raised her child alone. How could she accept her daughter being bullied like this? She angrily went to the school to seek an explanation, but the school was vague about it, and there was even a hint of blaming Lin Ruirui for tarnishing the school's reputation in her words. Lin's mother was just a wage earner, and Lin Ruirui's tuition was barely maintained by the compensation left by Lin's father. Her original intention was to hope that her daughter could attend a good school, but she never thought that she would encounter these things. The school refused to take action, and she had no power or influence. In desperation, Lin's mother listened to the instigation of a self-media blogger and posted the matter online, trying to use the power of the internet to get justice for her daughter. But she never expected that this action would plunge her and her daughter into another abyss. Lin Ruirui was pregnant out of wedlock, but secretly ran to an abandoned teaching building to attempt suicide. Although it initially aroused sympathy from netizens, the comments online quickly changed their tone. Pregnant out of wedlock and afraid of the family knowing, running to the teaching building to commit suicide. Today's students don't study properly, they only learn to mess around. Agree with the comment above. Early love is risky, making babies requires caution. Who is the guy? To make her attempt suicide, she must have been abandoned by the guy, right? Today's young girls are just too much, they want to die over a little thing. Girls don't love themselves, they deserve to be abandoned. Love brains only deserve to dig wild vegetables. Miscarriage is also deserved. I heard that some student girls take part-time jobs outside. Could this Lin Ruirui be one of them? Upstairs, the truth. No way, that's too disgusting. I don't know how the parents taught her, and she even wants to use traffic to deceive sympathy. The whole family is disgusting. At first, only a few people started the trend, but in just a few hours, the comment section was full of people talking about Lin Ruirui doing part-time jobs and getting pregnant. People who came later saw the comment section, preemptively believed the truth, and started a new round of scolding and disgust. The comments online instantly got out of control. Lin's mother wanted to defend herself, but no one listened to them, and even colleagues and neighbors began to point fingers. Some people even dug up Lin Ruirui's contact information and directly sent private messages asking about the price. Lin Ruirui finally came back from the brink of death, but what she saw when she opened her eyes was an overwhelming barrage of abuse and humiliation. A 17-year-old child couldn't bear such a series of malice, and finally went crazy one night. To say she was crazy, but not really. She wouldn't make a fuss or even speak. Apart from cooperating with basic sitting, lying and feeding, she no longer gave any response, just stayed there quietly every day, like a wooden puppet. Lin's mother felt that she had harmed her daughter, so she simply applied for a leave of absence for her daughter. In order to cure her daughter's illness, she spent all the family's savings, but it was always in vain. Because of taking care of her daughter, Lin's mother also had problems with her work and was forced to resign. Later, Qin Hao came to her door one day, and she realized that Qin Hao was the culprit who had harmed her daughter like this. And even those comments before were bought by the Qin family to help Qin Hao get rid of public opinion. And Qin Hao, knowing what his family had done, only pretended to come to the door afterward to offer compensation. Lin's mother hated Qin Hao to the core, wishing she could kill him on the spot. But she couldn't, because if she went to jail, there would be no one to take care of Ruirui. Call her weak or incompetent, Lin's mother ultimately chose to move away, completely distancing herself from Qin Hao and the Qin family. But every time, the Qin family always managed to find them, and every time Qin Hao came over, the Qin family would come to their door with threats. Lin's mother could only move again with her daughter. To let Ruirui live in peace, I even publicly declared that she was already dead. Lin's mother looked at Jiang Xiuxiu, her eyes devoid of any light. Now the internet has long forgotten that there was such a person as Ruirui, and I don't want anyone to know that she is still alive and come to bother her again. I don't know how you know Ruirui is still alive, but if you're talking about helping her by using the internet, I don't need it. I really don't need it. The hardships of life, the despair and confusion about the future, had already left her unable to squeeze out a single tear. But just listening to her voice, one could feel the pain and regret in her heart. Jiang Xiuxiu rarely reached out and took Lin's mother's hand. Don't worry, the help I'm talking about is helping her regain her senses. Lin's mother shook her head. It's useless. So many hospitals have said she can't be cured. I've already gotten used to it. Just think of it as her daughter getting Alzheimer's disease early. She can always take good care of her. Seeing that she didn't believe her, Jiang Xiuxiu didn't say anything more and casually tossed out a yellow talisman. Lin's mother saw the yellow talisman moving without wind, actually floating directly above her daughter's head. What surprised her even more was that her daughter, who had always been unresponsive to the outside world, now seemed to be attracted and slowly looked up at the talisman. Lin's mother's pupils trembled slightly, and she looked at Jiang Xiuxiu in disbelief. Jiang Xiuxiu only said, "The reason she is ignorant and unaware is because one of her souls has been detained at the top of the abandoned teaching building. I accidentally discovered that soul, and that's how I followed the aura and found my way here." As she spoke, she took out a small lantern folded from yellow talisman paper from her backpack. The lantern was hollow, and although there was nothing inside, it faintly emitted a little light. She said, "If you believe me, I will try to guide this soul back into her body for her." Lin's mother looked at the yellow talisman floating in the air above her head, and then at the paper lantern in Jiang Xiuxiu's hand. How could she not believe her at this point? Immediately, her eyes reddened, and she nodded fiercely. I believe you, little master. Please save Ruirui, save my child." Having received her entrustment, Jiang Xiuxiu then nodded. She took out a small vermilion brush from her backpack, leaned over to the bedside, and quickly drew a soul-guiding talisman between Lin Ruirui's eyebrows with the vermilion brush. The next moment, Jiang Xiuxiu put the small paper lantern into her palm and chanted clearly, "The way of heaven is clear, the way of earth is peaceful, the way of man is empty and still, the three souls gather, I obey the decree, soul return." As her last two words fell, the yellow talisman that had been floating above her head quickly wrapped the paper lantern. At the same time, a red thread seemed to connect Lin Ruirui's brow to the lantern wrapped in the yellow talisman. Lin's mother saw a glimmer of light traveling along the red thread from within the lantern, inching towards Lin Ruirui's brow. Guessing that the glimmer was her daughter's lost soul, Lin's mother held her breath, afraid that her heavy breathing would scare it away. She watched as the glimmer quickly reached the center of her brow, just as it was about to disappear into it. Suddenly, Lin's mother heard a sharp, baby-like cry in her ear, causing a sharp pain. The next second, she saw the glimmer, which was about to enter her daughter's brow, suddenly pulled back to the yellow paper-wrapped lantern, as if by some force. Chapter 52 Your Unborn Child. Ah! Lin's mother couldn't help but gasp, a look of panic in her eyes. Jiang Xiuxiu's expression remained unchanged. She swiftly released 3 yellow talismans, wrapping the paper lantern layer upon layer. The pulled glimmer finally stopped in mid-air. Before Jiang Xiuxiu could catch her breath, she saw the yellow talismans wrapping the paper lantern start to turn into black ash, one by one. Her brow furrowed. She released another 3 yellow talismans to wrap it, and at the same time, she pinched with 2 fingers, seemingly grabbing the glimmer in the void, and quickly sent it along the red thread into Lin Ruirui's brow. The moment the glimmer completely disappeared into Lin Ruirui's brow, the red thread that originally connected the paper lantern vanished. At this moment, the paper lantern wrapped in 6 yellow talismans began to shake violently. Lin's mother was terrified, and didn't even have time to check on her daughter. Seeing that the soul retrieval was complete, Jiang Xiuxiu unceremoniously raised her hand, and directly sent a burst of spiritual energy into the paper lantern, and said in a clear voice, "Behave yourself." The paper lantern paused for a moment as if it had been slapped, but it still shook violently, as if unwilling, trying to get closer to Lin Ruirui. Jiang Xiuxiu simply took out a bundle of red rope, which flew out and directly bundled the paper lantern into a ball of yarn. Then, she stuck another yellow talisman on it, which finally calmed it down and stuffed it back into her backpack. Lin's mother was dumbfounded by the sight. "Little master, could this also be her daughter's soul?" This inside is. Jiang Xuxu was about to speak, but suddenly heard a somewhat hoarse groan from the bedside. Mom? Hearing this voice, Lin's mother's body suddenly stiffened. She no longer cared about the yarn ball, and suddenly turned her head to look at Lin Ruirui on the bed. The moment she clearly met her daughter's gaze, Lin's mother's heart, which had been numb for more than a year, trembled violently at this moment. Her eyes turned red almost instantly. Ruirui. Lin's mother's voice choked, and she suddenly rushed to the bedside, tears streaming down her face. Ruirui, you looked at me, you can talk. Ruirui, my daughter, Wa. As she spoke, Lin's mother hugged Lin Ruirui, unable to hold back her sobs. Lin Ruirui only felt like she had a dream, her face filled with confusion and helplessness. I don't understand why it seems like I only slept for one night, but my mother looks like she's aged 10 years. Seeing the mother and daughter reunited, Jiang Xuxu didn't interrupt. She left the room on her own and closed the door behind her. Inside the room, Lin's mother's sobs and Lin Ruirui's hoarse comforting sounds came intermittently. After a long while, Lin's mother finally opened the door. Wiping away her tears, even though she still looked old and haggard, she seemed to have instantly come alive, with a light in her eyes. She stepped forward and thanked Jiang Xuxu again and again. Jiang Xuxu accompanied her back into the room. Inside, Lin Ruirui had clearly just finished crying as well. She looked at Jiang Xuxu with a very complicated expression. She recognized her. She was Guan Ruirui's sister, Guan Xuxu. Did Guan Ruirui send you? Lin Ruirui hadn't spoken for a long time, and her voice was still a little hoarse. Her gaze at Jiang Xuxu carried a hint of defensiveness and fear. Although Jiang Xuxu went to the same high school as Guan Ruirui, they were in different classes. But Lin Ruirui had heard Guan Ruirui privately talk about this sister of hers. Jiang Xuxu was busy learning metaphysics from her master that year, and didn't know anything about school matters, let alone the existence of Lin Ruirui. Seeing her expression at this moment, she only said, "My surname is now Jiang, and I have nothing to do with her anymore." Lin's mother didn't understand, and explained what had just happened to Lin Ruirui. Knowing that Jiang Xuxu had saved her, Lin Ruirui was still a little dazed and at a loss. She didn't understand how Guan Ruirui's sister knew about these things. But that didn't stop her from thanking her. I don't know what happened to me. Lin Ruirui had no idea what had happened in the past year or so. She only felt like she had had a very long dream. In the dream, she saw many students with despair in their eyes, jumping off a rooftop one by one. Looking at those eyes, she herself seemed to be enveloped in a cloud of despair, unable to struggle. Your life soul was detained, causing you to lose your mind for more than a year. I originally thought that the owner of the skull in the abandoned teaching building had detained your life soul. But just now, when I was guiding your soul, I discovered that it was actually it that was detaining you. As Jiang Xuxu spoke, she took out the paper lantern tangled into a ball of thread from her backpack. When Lin's mother saw the ball of thread, she remembered how violently the thing had shaken just now and couldn't help but stand in front of Lin Ruirui. "Little master, what exactly is inside this thing?" Jiang Xuxu's eyes narrowed slightly as she looked at Lin Ruirui and said, "What's trapped inside is the vengeful spirit of your unborn child." Lin's mother and Lin Ruirui were both stunned. Their eyes filled with surprise as they looked at the ball of thread. The child's vengeful spirit? I guess you had a miscarriage in the abandoned teaching building. The child's infant soul was trapped on the rooftop. That place had already accumulated a lot of resentment due to the constant student suicides. Plus, the unborn infant itself has a great deal of resentment. It absorbed the resentment and naturally became a powerful vengeful infant. What Jiang Xuxu didn't say was that the abandoned teaching building itself had a resentment-gathering magic array set up. And those silk threads were resentment threads growing from the skull encased in the center of the array. The continuous suicides of students over the years should have been influenced by the resentment within the teaching building, which amplified the despair and resentment in the students' hearts. And when they died, their original resentment became nourishment for the skull. It's just unknown why the resentful infant, who should have been devoured as nourishment, was left by the skull inside the red cocoon. Not only did it not absorb it, but it even protected it. Later, Lin Ruirui's resentment rapidly accumulated due to online abuse and humiliation. The infant spirit, sensing its mother's resentment and yearning for her companionship, directly detained one of Lin Ruirui's souls along that resentment. On one hand, it was to have her accompany it, and on the other hand, it wanted to turn Lin Ruirui into a resentful spirit like itself. However, Lin Ruirui was still a living person, so the infant spirit could only seek out her enemy based on the resentment in Lin Ruirui's heart. That is Guan Ruirui. This is why what Jiang Xiuxiu initially saw behind Guan Ruirui was just a gray shadow of gathered resentment, not a simple evil spirit. Jiang Xiuxiu had previously tried to disperse a piece of it, but found that it would recondense after a while. If the mother talisman previously left on Jiang Su had not been burned, allowing her to detect a similar aura on Guan Ruirui and trace the origin of the dark energy, perhaps she could only wait until the black energy on Guan Ruirui's back solidified before dispersing it in one fell swoop, but by then, Lin Ruirui would probably have completely become a dead person. This time, it was a lucky coincidence that she rescued one of her souls in time. Jiang Xiuxiu said, her gaze returning to the paper lantern wrapped in the ball of thread, a trace of coldness appearing in her almond-shaped eyes. Seeming to sense the emotion in Jiang Xiuxiu's eyes, Lin Ruirui's heart trembled slightly, and she couldn't help but open her mouth, asking in a hoarse voice, Master Su, what will happen to this child? Chapter 53. I heard you want to see me? Jiang Xiuxiu looked at Lin Ruirui, her eyes clear and calm, but her voice without a trace of warmth. A resentful spirit burdened with resentment and intent on doing evil can only be eliminated. Hearing the last two words, Lin Ruirui's body seemed to sway violently, and Mother Lin quickly hugged her in her arms. Ruirui, this child is not meant to be with you, and besides, it almost harmed you. Mom knows it's cruel to say this, but for me, you are the most important one. Mother Lin, being a mother, understands the feelings of a mother best. But for her, a child she had never even met couldn't compare to the child she had painstakingly raised. Lin Ruirui felt Mother Lin's slightly trembling embrace, and just closed her eyes. To say how deep her feelings for this child were, it wasn't actually that much. This child was a mistake from the start, and even without the teaching building incident, she might have found a way to abort it. Perhaps that was where the child's resentment came from. It hated her so much, but it was also so attached to her. That's why she wanted to keep herself by her side at all costs. During her time of confusion, she did feel a small thing nestling close to her. Lin Ruirui couldn't describe what kind of feeling it was, but she still couldn't bear to watch it being destroyed. Master Jiang, is there no other way? Her eyes held a hint of pleading. Despite being of a similar age to Jiang Xiuxiu, she no longer possessed the vivacity and brilliance of her age. Jiang Xiuxiu pursed her lips. She was a talisman master and not good at dispelling resentment, especially since the little thing carried not only its own resentment and the resentment of the suicidal students, but also the fiend resentment belonging to that bone. She wasn't sure if she could eliminate it. After a moment of thought, Jiang Xiuxiu simply turned and went out, took out her phone and made a call. It's me. I have a resentful infant here. I want you to help me dispel its resentment. Its situation is a bit special. How much? 100. Didn't you say 80 before? Too expensive. Give me a discount. Okay, I'll flash deliver it to you this afternoon. Jiang Xiuxiu hung up the phone, returned to the room, saw the mother and daughter looking at her expectantly, and simply said, I've found someone to try to dispel its resentment. If it can eliminate the resentment on its body, perhaps it can smoothly enter reincarnation. Hearing this, both Mother Lin and Lin Ruirui's eyes lit up, followed by a burst of gratitude. Mother Lin then asked about the remuneration that should be paid. Although she had never been in contact with such things, she also knew that such capable masters must charge a lot. Jiang Xiuxiu looked at the obviously malnourished Mother Lin and the cramped little room she was standing in, and simply said, My fee is 300 yuan per time, plus the 80 yuan for commissioning the resentment dispelling, so just give me 380 yuan. Mother Lin was a little surprised, but quickly breathed a sigh of relief and quickly took out her phone to transfer money to her. Jiang Xiuxiu accepted the money and left a talisman for Lin Ruirui, before leaving the residential building. After going downstairs, she found a quiet place to wait. Soon, a young man dressed in black clothes and black pants and wearing a black hat walked towards her. The young man wore a black mask, his eyes were curved as if he was smiling. "Hello, Spiritual Affairs Flash Delivery. What item do you want to send?" Jiang Xiushu took out the paper lantern tied with a red rope from her backpack. Perhaps because it had left the residential building, the infant spirit was struggling violently, trying to return to its mother. The black-hatted youth didn't seem surprised to see the moving little thing, but calmly took out a box from his satchel. Jiang Xiushu recognized that it was one of the 12 magical artifacts that Izhan had auctioned off earlier, which could temporarily seal fiends. This box was one of them. Jiang Xiushu put the paper lantern in the box, paid the fee in person, and the black-hatted youth immediately left quickly with the box. Jiang Xiushu sent a message to the previous number, explaining the approximate time of the flash delivery, and at the same time transferred 800,000 yuan to the other party. The 60,000 she had just gotten from Jiang Su had disappeared, and she had even lost an additional 20,000. Jiang Xiushu felt a pang of pain, but she quickly recovered. It didn't matter, if she lost on this deal, she could make it back on another. Although it was accidental, she had indeed solved someone's problem. Taking advantage of the present, she had to go and collect some interest. Hospital. Guan Ruirui lay in bed, and in just 2 days she had visibly lost weight. Her eyes were dark, her skin was yellow, and her spirit was low. Because of the near strangulation experienced the night before, Guan Ruirui had hardly slept in the past 2 days. Even when she was tired and sleepy, she still held on, and even looked at the people around her with vigilance and fear. It was as if someone across from her would suddenly turn into Lin Ruirui and pounce on her. After drinking her 3rd cup of coffee today, by Xu Qin, who was next to her with a bandage on her head, because she had inexplicably bumped into the steps when she went out today. Even so, she still worried about her own daughter, and after getting her wound bandaged at the hospital, she immediately came to the ward area to watch over her. At this time, her eyes were full of love. Ruirui, you've had almost 20 cups of coffee in the last 2 days. You can't keep going like this. Guan Ruirui ignored her, drank every drop of coffee in her cup, and then turned to look at Bai Shuqin, and asked her eagerly, "Mom, has Dad found the master who can save me? If not, you can find Jiang Xiushu. Didn't you say she can save me?" "Ruirui, don't worry, your dad is already looking for someone. We don't need to beg that little bitch Jiang Xiushu at all. Be good, Mom and Dad will definitely save you." Hearing this, Guan Ruirui smashed the cup to the ground with a look of exasperation. There was a loud crash, and porcelain shards splattered everywhere, accompanied by Guan Ruirui's obviously anxious voice. "How can you save me? I almost died. Lin Ruirui came back as a ghost to find me. You don't know how terrifying she is. Why don't you take me to Jiang Xiushu? I want to go to Jiang Xiushu. Even if she can't solve that evil spirit, at least she can help me attract the evil spirit's attention. Maybe if the evil spirit saw Jiang Xiushu, it wouldn't want to hurt her, but instead would hurt Jiang Xiushu. Wasn't that how it used to be? As long as Jiang Xiushu was by her side, the pain that had never healed would be slowly transferred to her. She would recover her health, and Jiang Xiushu would fall ill and get injured in her place. When Guan Ruirui thought of Lin Ruirui's terror that night, she couldn't wait any longer and pretended to pull the 4-tube on her hand. "I want to see Jiang Xiushu. Take me to see her now. She took my bracelet and can't leave me alone." Seeing this, Bai Shuqin hurried forward to comfort her. In the chaos between the two, the door of the ward was suddenly pushed open. Jiang Xiushu stood outside the door, her apricot eyes slightly raised, with a smile that was not a smile. "I heard you want to see me? Here I am." Chapter 54 Guan Ruirui's Confession. Guan Ruirui in the ward was stunned for a moment when she saw Jiang Xiushu, and then her eyes lit up. This was the first time she was so happy to see Jiang Xiushu. Jiang Xiushu. Guan Ruirui was so excited she wanted to get up, but she forgot that she had broken her leg and sprained her waist. As soon as she moved, her face contorted in pain. Bai Shuqin looked at Jiang Xiushuan with a clear sense of wariness in her expression. They had gone to so much trouble to get her to come before, but she ignored them. How could she be so kind as to come today? What are you doing here? Bai Shuqin asked. Jiang Shushuan only glanced at her. Didn't you invite me? As she spoke, Guan's father and Guan Qishan also returned from outside. Compared to the last time Jiang Shushuan saw them, both of them clearly had varying degrees of new injuries. Just unlucky in a consistent way. Jiang Shushu glanced at the specks of black aura still lingering around them, vaguely understanding something. But she didn't say much. She walked straight into the house, concise and to the point. I'm here today for two things. First, I can deal with the sinister things plaguing Guan Ruirui, but I'm only agreeing to this once. Whatever she attracts in the future is none of my concern. Before Jiang Shushu could finish, Guan Ruirui eagerly responded, just save me this time. As long as you're willing to help me, I'll treat you like my own sister. Hearing this, Jiang Shushu's face darkened, and she wanted to turn around and leave. Who wants to be your sister? If you want me to save you, don't call me that disgusting name again. I have nothing to do with your Guan family anymore. Jiang Shushu's attitude was as unforgiving as it had been at the banquet. A flicker of coldness crossed Guan Baoqing's eyes, but he quickly composed himself. We promise you, as long as you help Ruirui this time. Jiang Shushu didn't act immediately. Second, I want you to write a transfer of ownership for the bracelet, signed and sealed. Guan Qishan frowned upon hearing this. Shushu, we won't ask for the bracelet back since we gave it to you. Why would you say something like that? Jiang Shushu simply glanced at him, her tone cool. That's not necessarily true. After a pause, she added more directly, I don't trust you. The frustration in Guan Baoqing's eyes deepened, but he simply said, I promise you. Jiang Shushu then demanded that Guan Baoqing write the transfer of ownership on the spot, sign it, and affix the seal. For the sake of Guan Ruirui, Guan Baoqing didn't dare to dismiss Jiang Shushu's potential help, so he obediently complied. Jiang Shushu accepted the transfer of ownership before saying, also my fee is 5 million per session. Transfer the money first, then I'll act. And Guan Ruirui must listen to me during the process. Bai Shuqin had been holding back, but upon hearing this, she couldn't help but rush forward, ready to unleash a torrent of abuse. 5 million. Are you deliberately robbing us? You little bitch, I see through you. You're just putting on an act to find an excuse to take back the 5 million you transferred to us. Say all that. Aren't you just trying to extort money? Let me tell you, no way. As she spoke, she gestured towards Guan Baoqing. Baoqing, don't trust this girl. Quickly kick her out. Guan Baoqing's expression was equally dark, but he didn't respond immediately. Jiang Shushu didn't say much, simply pulled a yellow talisman from her backpack and shot it directly towards Guan Ruirui. The talisman moved without wind, circling Guan Ruirui's body before hovering directly in front of her head. Jiang Shushu's sudden move instantly silenced the Guan family, who had initially been skeptical of her. What surprised Guan Ruirui even more was that as the talisman circled her, she clearly felt the faint, chilling sensation within her body diminish, replaced by a gradual warmth. The light in Guan Ruirui's originally haggard face instantly brightened, and she didn't hesitate. I'll transfer the 5 million to you. Immediately help me eliminate that evil spirit, Lin Ruirui. Jiang Suning gnashed her teeth when she heard her mention Lin Ruirui, obviously thinking that she was being haunted by Lin Ruirui's ghost. Her eyes turned cold, but she said on the surface, her resentment is deep, I can't eliminate her, but I have a way to eliminate her resentment, so she won't haunt you anymore. Guan Ruirui only wanted Lin Ruirui's soul to be destroyed. When she heard Jiang Suning say that she couldn't eliminate her, she frowned. But before she could hesitate, Jiang Suning pretended to leave. Guan Ruirui didn't dare to dawdle any longer. You have to guarantee that she won't come to me again. She had had enough of seeing that terrifying face every time she opened her eyes. Jiang Suning thought that the vengeful infant had already been taken away, and it couldn't use resentment to affect Guan Ruirui anymore. It was impossible for her to see Lin Ruirui's ghost again. So she nodded, but you have to listen to me. 15 minutes later, Guan Ruirui looked at the small paper lantern made of yellow talismans floating in front of her, a little surprised, and looked at Jiang Suning beside her uncertainly. Do I really have to do this? Sincerely reflect on what you did to her in front of the paper lantern, and repent. Only when she feels your remorse will she not continue to haunt you. There was obvious hesitation on Guan Ruirui's face. You won't secretly record me or film me, will you? Jiang Suning just glanced at her, then casually took out her phone and threw it on the sofa next to her. Guan Ruirui felt secretly relieved looking at the unlocked state of the phone screen, and looked at the other 3 members of the Guan family standing beside her. After hesitating for a moment, she said with a pleading tone, "Mom and Dad, brother, can you please go out first?" Bai Shuqin was puzzled when she heard this. "Ruirui, how can we let you stay in a room alone with this little? With Jiang Suning? Don't worry, Mom will stay here with you." Guan Qishan also said, "Ruirui, don't be afraid. Brother will be here watching you." Guan Ruirui's expression suddenly became strange and embarrassing. Jiang Suning couldn't help but laugh when she saw this. She obviously doesn't want you to hear the bad things she's done, to discover how ugly her heart is under her appearance. Does she really have to say it clearly? The tone sounded sincere, but the voice was full of mockery. Guan Ruirui's face turned pale. "Jiang Suning, don't go too far." Jiang Shushu looked at her, but the smile on her lips faded, her eyes full of indifference. "I've already told you the method. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not, but I'll only give you 1 minute. After 1 minute, I won't bother with your business." She said it without any politeness, and Guan Ruirui had no doubt that she would do what she said, but to admit in front of her family what she had done to Lin Ruirui, she couldn't do it. Just as Guan Ruirui was about to cry, Guan Baoqing finally spoke and said, "You guys come out with me first." After speaking, he raised his leg and walked out. Bai Shuqin and Guan Qishan were a little curious when they saw this, but they followed Guan Baoqing out of the ward, until only Guan Ruirui and Jiang Suning were left in the ward. Guan Ruirui finally breathed a sigh of relief, turning her head to look at the small paper lantern still floating in mid-air. After a long while, a sad expression appeared on her face, and she sobbed softly. "Lin Ruirui, I'm sorry, I know I was wrong." Chapter 55, Too Good for Her. "I shouldn't have, just because you have the same name as me," implied that Qin Hao should go and make trouble for you. "At first, I just wanted to see you make a fool of yourself, but I didn't expect Qin Hao to suddenly tell me he liked you. He used to chase after me all the time, but suddenly he liked you. I just wasn't willing. The day I asked you to go to the rooftop, I didn't want to do anything to you. I just knew you were pregnant and wanted to scare you on purpose. I really don't know how you suddenly miscarried. It really wasn't me who killed you." Guan Ruirui initially tried to beautify her actions, but when she realized that the more she spoke, the colder feeling on her body inexplicably returned. But after she spoke her true intentions, that cold feeling slowly weakened again. Thinking that her words wouldn't be heard by anyone else, and just treating it as a way to appease the evil spirit Lin Ruirui, she confidently spoke out every thought and dark idea in her heart. Jiang Foxglove stood beside her, listening with a blank expression. Although she saw a part of the scene of Guan Ruirui and Lin Ruirui talking in the illusion, and also felt their emotions from the resentful infant and Lin Ruirui's wisp of soul, she couldn't know the truth behind the emotions. Hearing Guan Ruirui's confession, Jiang Foxglove wasn't even surprised. Targeting an innocent girl because of a name was indeed something Guan Ruirui could do. Seeing that Guan Ruirui had finally said everything she could, Jiang Foxglove raised her hand, and the small paper lantern flew directly back into her hand, where she put it into a small bottle. Guan Ruirui looked at her movements, her eyes still carrying some resentment. "So you can guarantee that Lin Ruirui's ghost won't come to me in the future, right?" Jiang Foxglove glanced at her and answered earnestly and perfunctorily, "Yes, I guarantee it." Anyway, Lin Ruirui wasn't dead. Even without this incident, Lin Ruirui's ghost wouldn't be able to come to her again. "You also have to guarantee that I won't be as unlucky as I am now." She hadn't thought much about it when she had the car accident earlier, but first she broke both legs in the car accident, and then the bed broke for no reason, causing her to sprain her waist, not to mention the various neck cramps, choking while drinking water, and choking while eating that happened during this period. No matter how confused Guan Ruirui was, she knew that she had attracted bad luck. Maybe it was also caused by Lin Ruirui's ghost. Jiang Foxglove, however, said, "I can't guarantee this because your current bad luck comes from the calamity in your fate, And it has nothing to do with Lin Ruirui. If you have to say there's a relationship, then it's just that the resentment of the resentful infant attached to her makes her more likely to attract calamities. Guan Ruirui's expression changed abruptly when she heard her talk about her fate, and she immediately shouted, "Even if it's a matter of fate, you have to solve it for me. Don't forget you took my money." Although the 5 million was not transferred by her. But this does not prevent Guan Ruirui from being righteous. The Guan family outside the door heard the movement and reopened the door to come in. Guan Ruirui immediately cried and complained that Jiang Xiuxiu took the money but refused to do anything. Bai Shuqin was the first to disagree. "You took 5 million and just solved a ghost. No way. You have to help her solve Ruirui's fate as well. You said it before, do you want to take the bracelet and deny it?" Guan Baoqing also had a gloomy face, as if Jiang Xiuxiu would not be able to leave this door as long as she said she didn't care about it. Jiang Xiuxiu just sneered at this. The Guan family has been planning for 18 years without success, and now you think you can solve it all at once with 5 million plus a bracelet. How can you think so beautifully? Don't say I can't do it. Even if I can, why should I help her? She's your sister. Guan Qishan said in a deep voice, and tried to educate her with sisterly affection. Jiang Xiuxiu really felt that the Guan family had a pit in their brains. Especially this Guan Qishan. I'll say it one last time. I have nothing to do with the Guan family. Don't use the sister thing to disgust me again. Saying that, she looked at Guan Baoqing. What I said at the beginning was to solve her 18th birthday crisis. Your daughter bullied others and ruined a girl's life that should have been good. That's why she suffered this disaster today. Now her life is safe. Just letting her lie here is already cheap for her. I have already solved the matter of Lin Ruirui. If you want to solve the problem of her fate, you can find someone else. Jiang Xiuxiu said and was about to leave, but just took a step and stopped again. As if thinking of something, she looked at the Guan family of 4 in the room. One more reminder. Guan Ruirui's fate transition has failed, and is now backfiring. Those close to her will be affected. When she said this, her eyes swept over the bandaged places on the heads of the other 3 people in the room as if nothing had happened, which also made the faces of the 3 people, including Guan Baoqing, suddenly change. Before they could speak, Jiang Xiuxiu said again, "Considering that you spent 5 million, I can also give you a free suggestion. Do you remember the jade pendant I used to give you?" It's funny to say that when she first started learning metaphysics from her master, she was not dead set on the Guan family, so after she just learned to carve amulet jade pendants, she had given them to Guan's father and mother, and even Guan Ruirui, except for Guan Qishan. And as far as she knows, Guan Ruirui and Bai Shuqin had already thrown that thing away. However, it is precisely because they threw it away that she has to remind them even more. That's an amulet jade pendant I carved myself, which can block disasters and bad luck. If you don't want to continue to stumble and bump your heads every day when you go out, just wear that. I only gave them things before because she wanted to. Now that they can't be returned, at least get some compensation. This 5 million is the compensation, including those 4 jade pendants. Jiang Xiuxiu said it lightly, but Guan Qishan's face changed suddenly. He finally understood why Jiang Xiuxiu mentioned the jade pendant twice. Unexpectedly, it has the effect of protecting the body. Looking at his still bandaged arm, Guan Qishan was extremely annoyed at this moment. If he had known that it had such an effect, he would have searched for it carefully when she first asked about it, and he wouldn't have continued to have bad luck these past 2 days. At this moment, the Guan family had no doubt that Jiang Xiuxiu's statement that Guan Ruirui's misfortune would affect the surrounding people's bad luck was true. Guan Baoqing and Guan Qishan both decided to go back and look for where the thing was placed. However, Bai Shuqin and Guan Ruirui had strange and annoyed expressions. Bai Shuqin stomped her foot in anger. That dead girl. She must have known that I threw away the broken stone she gave me a long time ago. That's why she said that. Guan Ruirui also bit her lip, but because of her persona, she whispered, I don't know where I put it. Xiuxiu gave me too many gifts. I'm afraid I can't find it, Dad. What should I do? Guan Ruirui looked pitiful. She didn't want to live this kind of life of bad luck and car accidents anymore. Guan Baoqing's face was grave, and Bai Shuqin comforted him. It's okay, your father and brother's jade pendants are still there, We can use theirs. She said it as a matter of course, but Guan Baoqing and Guan Qishan's expressions darkened in an instant. Their jade pendants were given to them. Then what about themselves? Guan Qishan had never realized his mother's bias as clearly as he did now. Jiang Shushu. This is the effect I wanted. Chapter 56. Are you asking about the jade pendant my sister gave me? The Jiang family. Jiang Huai went to the police station to help take a statement and deal with some follow-up matters regarding the collective coma of 8 people in the teaching building. He got home a little later than Jiang Su. As soon as he entered the door, he saw Jiang Su running over lively. Brother Huai, how did things go? Jiang Huai gave him a cool glance. Of course it was suppressed. Otherwise a group of you running to an abandoned teaching building to play CS and collectively falling into a coma would have caused an uproar on the internet long ago. Jiang Su gave him a thumbs up directly, as expected of my brother. It's very hot outside. I think it's also quite hot in the house. The air conditioner isn't cool enough. While complaining, Jiang Su exaggeratedly pulled at the neckline of his t-shirt. Jiang Huai almost immediately noticed the jade pendant hanging around the young man's neck. His peach blossom eyes narrowed slightly, a teasing smile playing at the corners of his eyes as he said, "This t-shirt of yours looks good. Did you buy it recently?" Jiang Su blinked, ignoring what he was asking, his tone smug and exaggerated. "What? Are you asking about this jade pendant on my neck?" "Yes, Sister Shushu gave it to me, the same as yours and uncle's." Yao Lin walked over from the living room and rolled her eyes very subtly when she heard this. Just when Jiang Su had just arrived home, he put on a performance in front of her. She asked him, "Why are you back so soon? Didn't you stay at the hospital for a detailed checkup?" Jiang Su then said, "Second aunt, you asked me what this jade pendant on my neck is for? My sister said it's a protective jade pendant. Wearing it gets rid of all diseases. What need is there for a physical examination?" She didn't understand. This Jiang Su had been looking at Jiang Yi with disdain not long ago. How could he be like a completely different person after coming back from one trip outside? And calling her sister with every breath. Could he be possessed? Possessed by Jiang Yi. Jiang Huai saw Jiang Su's deliberate display and thoughtfully leaned in for a closer look, not forgetting to nod. "Indeed, it looks just like mine, but the silver chain it's paired with is so-so." Jiang Su immediately perked up. "Brother Huai, don't you have that red string? Give me one too, I'll change it." Jiang Huai smiled meaningfully. "Don't you think the red string is tacky?" Jiang Su's little face straightened. "What tacky? The red string has a long history, perfectly to ensure the tradition, modesty, and subtlety of our Chinese East for thousands of years. If you want to say what goes best with jade, it must be a red string." The smile on Jiang Huai's face deepened. After a while, he patted his shoulder. "Not bad. Now that your brain is back, your aesthetic is normal too. I'll have someone get it for you later." Saying that, he lifted his leg and went upstairs. Jiang Su stood in place. It took him a long time to react, and he almost exploded. What brother? He actually said he had no brain. When Jiang Yi returned to the Jiang family from the hospital, she saw Jiang Su sitting on the stairs in the front hall, holding her little pretty in his arms, diligently stroking its tail fur. The person who used to dislike her pretty with every word was now a fox slave. When he saw her, Jiang Su had a moment of embarrassment, but he quickly recovered and went straight to her with Fox Pretty in his arms. "Sister, you're back? Oh, I thought it was lonely in your room, so I let it out to play." Jiang Yi was a little unaccustomed to the current Jiang Su. She gave a hum, raised her hand, and prepared to take back her pretty from his arms, but saw Jiang Su avoid her and gesture towards the side hall. "Sister, someone is looking for you." Jiang Yi was startled. She didn't expect anyone other than the Guan family to come to the Jiang family to find her, but she still gave up taking Fox Pretty, nodded, and went to the side hall. Jiang Yi heard her second aunt Yao Lin talking to someone as she entered the door. When she saw the person in the side hall, she suddenly felt a sense of expectation. The person who came was Li Qingzi. This morning, Li Qingzi took her newly acquired driver's license and drove alone to the vicinity of Hai University. Thanks to the renowned scenery of Hai University, it is open to tourists every summer. When Li Qingzi went, the area around Hai University was no less lively than usual. Seeing the street ahead almost blocked, she didn't hesitate to make a U-turn and leave. Unexpectedly, just after turning the car around and passing one block, she accidentally scraped against someone. Realizing what happened, Li Qingzi quickly turned off the engine and got out of the car. Walking to the front, she saw a refined and handsome young man. He was wearing a crisp shirt and black trousers, giving off the vibe of a college campus heartthrob at first glance. "I'm sorry, I didn't see you just now. Are you all right?" The young man smiled at her. "I'm fine, it's just a pity about this." Only then did Li Qingzi notice the bag the young man was holding. It had fallen to the ground, and the plaster sculpture inside was clearly broken. "How much is this worth? I'll pay you for it." Li Qingzi took out her phone almost without hesitation. The young man watched her actions, a flicker in his eyes, but he shook his head. "This thing isn't worth much. I made it myself, originally planning to use it for an art exhibition competition this summer." Hearing that it was an exhibit piece, Li Qingzi visibly paused. This would be hard to compensate for. Seeing her expression, the young man smiled helplessly. "I guess I'm not meant to participate in this competition." "It's okay, it's not your fault, you don't need to pay me." Li Qingzi, however, was not the kind of person to damage someone else's belongings and just walk away. "This thing has value, you can give me a price." Li Qingzi thought that she could even pay according to the prize money of the exhibition competition. But unexpectedly, the young man still shook his head but suddenly said, "If you really want to compensate me, or maybe you could be my hand model. Your hands are very beautiful, and the piece I'm entering this time is a hand model plaster." Li Qingzi seemed not to have expected the other party to make such a request. Before she could react, the other party had already taken out his phone. "Can I add you on WeChat first?" The man's attitude was polite, even gentlemanly. Without thinking too much, Li Qingzi subconsciously reached for her phone. However, just as she was about to take out her phone to accept the other party's friend request, the words that the eldest Miss Jiang had said to her at the banquet that day suddenly flashed in her mind. "You'll have some bad romantic luck recently. Pay attention to those who make you feel indebted to them." Li Qingzi hadn't taken it to heart at first, but inexplicably, the moment she saw the man in front of her, she suddenly connected it with what Jiang Shushu had said. Bad romantic luck, a sense of indebtedness. Didn't this match up perfectly? Li Qingzi had never been a superstitious person, but she was definitely someone who listened to advice and was cautious. So, she retracted her hand from taking the phone, and instead took out a business card from her personal card holder. Handing the business card to the other party, Li Qingzi's attitude became distant and aloof. "This is my personal assistant. You can contact her directly with any requests. She will find you the most excellent hand model, and I will settle the expenses." Having said that, without giving the other party a chance to continue the conversation, Li Qingzi turned around, got into the car, and drove away. Young man. Chapter 57. Attracting Bad Romance Charms. Li Qingzi wasn't one to like being kept in the dark. After returning, she directly had someone check the dates and themes of nearby art exhibitions and competitions. Because Haida University had an art department, there were many such competitions, but each one had a different theme. After asking around, she realized that the man was deliberately trying to scam her. The competition theme had absolutely nothing to do with hands. But if she agreed to be a hand model, it would inevitably involve some physical contact, like having plaster applied to her hands face to face. A young and naive girl like her could easily fall in love under such specific circumstances. Li Qingzi sneered, recalling Jiang Yi's reminder to watch out for petty people, and had someone investigate the other party's identity and recent contacts. Soon, she came to a conclusion. It was indeed a trap set by a petty person. Her stepsister was that petty person. After seeing off Auntie Jiang, Li Qingzi looked at Jiang Yi in front of her without any nervousness or anxiety on her face. She simply recounted what happened that morning and stared at her intently. "You said I could come to you." Jiang Yi didn't speak, but reached into her bag and took out a yellow talisman. "This is a talisman to ward off petty people. If someone tries to scheme against you again, this talisman will directly backfire on them." Li Qingzi didn't immediately take it when she heard this. "Again? What about this time? Didn't you avoid falling for it?" Li Qingzi narrowed her eyes. I didn't fall for it, but I don't like being schemed against. As she spoke, she squeezed next to Jiang Yi, sitting right beside her, acting very familiar. Besides talismans to ward off petty people, do you have any talismans that attract terrible romantic prospects? As soon as Jiang Yi heard this, she understood her meaning. She wanted to pay them back in kind. However, she liked this personality. After thinking about it, Jiang Yi simply took out a clean piece of yellow paper from her bag, and then took out a cinnabar brush and dipped it casually. She knelt on the carpet, her figure upright. Then she raised her brush and started to draw, and in a few strokes she completed a talisman. It was the first time Li Qingzi had seen someone draw a talisman. She felt that Jiang Yi's aura changed when she picked up the brush, and she gave people a feeling of transcendence. If she still had some doubts in her mind when she came to the door today, at that moment, she completely believed that this Jiang family eldest lady was truly capable. Taking the talisman, Li Qingzi couldn't help but sigh. I was just asking casually, I didn't expect you in the Xian sect to actually have this kind of talisman. We don't. Jiang Yi said truthfully, and looking at Li Qingzi's somewhat surprised expression, she just smiled and explained. The Xian sect doesn't have a talisman specifically for attracting bad romance prospects, but it does have a talisman for attracting romance. Jiang Yi pointed to the last stroke on the talisman in her hand. This stroke is extra, and the extra romance in marriage is considered bad romance. It's not wrong to say it attracts bad romance prospects. In the art of talismans, many runes are derived from the talismans passed down by the ancestors, and most of the time they all lead to the same goal through different paths. Like now, many people seek weight loss charms, koi charms, and study charms online, and she can draw them here as well. For example, the weight loss charm is actually a purity charm, reducing worldly desires, including the desire to eat. The koi charm can be a fortune-gathering charm, but gathering fortune itself advances a person's own fortune, rather than creating it out of thin air. So Jiang Zhuxu generally doesn't draw this kind of charm for people. As for the study charm, it combines the purity charm and the concentration charm, ensuring peace of mind and concentration, which naturally makes studying more effective. Li Qingzi understood. I didn't expect it could be like this. She happily accepted it, along with the anti-villain charm from before, and was about to thank her when she saw a payment QR code handed to her. Jiang Zhuxu was very businesslike. The anti-villain charm is 3,000. The peach blossom charm is 5,000, making a total of 8,000. Li Qingzi didn't think it was expensive, and scanned the code very readily with her phone. After Jiang Zhuxu received the payment before she could take back her phone, she quickly tapped twice on her phone screen, directly opened her QR code, scanned it, and added her all in one go. We're sisters now, let's add each other as friends for easy contact. Seeing that Jiang Zhuxu still had something to say, Li Qingzi quickly added, you can also transfer money remotely. Jiang Zhuxu immediately stopped talking, smiled, and accepted the friend request. Immediately afterwards, a transfer suddenly popped up in the message box. It was Jiangsu. Jiangsu has initiated a transfer of 3,000 yuan to you. Please accept the payment. Before Jiang Zhuxu could react, she heard a teenager on the second-floor staircase, holding his phone and waving excitedly at her. Sis, I want that anti-villain charm too. Save one for me. Jiang Shushuan. Li Qingzi. Jiangsu, who told you to eavesdrop on our conversation upstairs? Come down here now. Li Qingzi and Jiangsu were clearly not meeting for the first time, and at this moment, she was already standing with her hands on her hips, speaking towards Jiangsu upstairs. Jiangsu still raised the bar as always. If you want me to go down, I'll go down. Why should I listen to you? Jiang Zhuxu looked up. Come down and get the charm. Jiangsu's face changed in a second. Okay, sis. The speed of the change in attitude made Li Qingzi couldn't help but click her tongue. She silently turned her head to look at Jiang Zhuxu, obviously curious about how she had tamed Jiangsu, who was known as the most reckless member of the Jiang family, in such a short period of time. You should know that at the banquet that day, although Jiangsu didn't deliberately make trouble, his attitude towards this cousin couldn't be said to be too good. How did you do it? Jiang Zhuxu knew she was talking about Jiangsu and didn't hide anything. He had a fight with Lu Xueshi. Although Jiang Su acted like he wanted to break up with Lu Xueshi, Jiang Zhuxiu didn't think he could easily escape Lu Xueshi's control. Hearing the name Lu Xueshi, Li Qingzi's expression instantly became a little subtle. Speaking of Lu Xueshi, there's an interesting thing you probably don't know. Jiang Zhuxiu glanced at her. Li Qingzi's mouth appropriately hooked into a smile that was not quite a smile. Lu Xueshi's name was originally Chen Shi, the Shi of Morning Dawn, but before coming to the Jiang family, it was said that the Jiang family's generation were all Sishui, water radicals, so her family changed it to Shi, the Shi of stream water. Jiang Xiuxiu raised an eyebrow. Listen to what Li Qingzi emphasized. Before coming to the Jiang family, it seems she came with the intention of becoming a member of the Jiang family. Did you guys know each other before? Li Qingzi curled her lips. We happened to be in the same class in elementary school. Jiang Xiuxiu didn't ask further because Jiang Su had already burst open the door of the side hall. Sis, I'm here, Jiang Su said as he crowded next to Jiang Xiuxiu. Li Qingzi looked at Jiang Su's shameless behavior and completely looked down on him. Jiang Su, do you have any manners? I'm talking to Xiuxiu and you dare to eavesdrop upstairs. Jiang Su didn't give Li Qingzi an inch. This is my house. I'm in my own house. How can that be called eavesdropping? You were just talking too loud. And I couldn't care less about your stepsister's trivial matters. Jiang Su, I think you need a beating. Li Qingzi smiled fakely, and Jiang Su only felt a chill down his neck, but still stubbornly stuck his neck out. You dare, believe it or not, my sister can deal with you with a wave of her hand. Jiang Xiuxiu was inexplicably cued, met Li Qingzi's gaze, and only slowly twisted her wrist, muttering softly, my wrist hurts from drawing too many talismans. The implication being, she couldn't lift it. Chapter 58 Jiang Yuqing transferred 10 million yuan to you. Li Qingzi immediately smiled brightly and radiantly upon hearing this. Jiang Su's expression collapsed, and he stomped his feet at her. Sis, I'm on the same side as you. Seeing Li Qingzi getting up and heading towards him, Jiang Su quickly turned around and ran away the way he came. Before leaving, he didn't forget to shout at Jiang Xiuxiu, sis, don't forget my anti-villain talisman. I'll come find you for it later. Li Qingzi was just bluffing. At this moment, she conveniently picked up her bag and prepared to leave. I'll thank you for this talisman in advance. If it works out, I'll introduce you to some business. As she spoke, she deliberately winked at Jiang Xiuxiu. There wasn't a hint of disdain on her face for Jiang Xiuxiu's behavior of learning Xianshu and charging for it. Jiang Xiuxiu smiled slightly at her and rarely gave her another little tip. The peach blossom talisman is only effective if you carry it with you, preferably in something she carries with her every day. For example, a phone case. Li Qingzi immediately understood, winked at her, turned around, and strode away in high heels, her posture proud and flamboyant, like a proud peacock. Jiang Xiuxiu later learned that this confident and flamboyant Miss Li family was originally the only daughter of the Li family, but her mother died unexpectedly, and her father married a new wife in less than half a year. A new wife walked through the door, bringing with her not only a stepsister who was a year younger than her, but even more ridiculously, this stepsister was also her father's biological daughter. With the stepmother and stepsister entering the house, her own father also became a stepfather, and everything Li Qingzi originally owned was gradually taken away. Everyone thought she would grow into a timid little crybaby, but unexpectedly, after being sent to her grandmother's house in the county town for a year, Li Qingzi swaggered between various families, using the opinions of each family to gain the initiative for herself. From then on, anyone who dared to upset her even a little would find her turning the house upside down without any fear of embarrassment. The worst of these incidents involved her running to the police station to accuse her own father of domestic violence, while live streaming the whole thing and tagging all her uncles for them to come and watch. In the end, having lost considerable face, Li Shigao compromised. From then on, he provided her with good food and drink and dared not neglect her in the slightest. At the same time, he forbade his wife and stepdaughter from provoking her. It could be said that Li Qingzi enjoyed everything that a young lady of the Li family was entitled to, except for her father's love. But Jiang Yuxiu thought that Li Qingzi didn't need that thing either. In such a terrible family environment, she had done her best and lived the best life she could. That evening, Jiang Su, in front of Jiang Yuqing and his own parents, showed off the jade talisman he had obtained from Jiang Yushu. It was like a certified medal, leaving all the elders of the Jiang family speechless. Who was it that had been so critical of Jiang Yushu before? Now, not only was he calling her sister, but he had also directly obtained a token? Jiang Yutong and his wife were relieved, but also felt a little envious. They didn't even have a jade talisman carved by their niece. Before, when she only gave them to her father and brother, no one felt anything, but now that she had given one to Jiang Su, they suddenly felt like they were being treated differently. So, under the gaze of Jiang Yutong and his wife, Jiang Yushu silently gave away 2 more protective jade talismans. At that time, Jiang Han returned from the hospital and happened to catch Jiang Shushu giving away the jade kai, which he didn't take seriously at all. I generally don't wear jade items. After all, when it comes to the skill of carving characters on jade, it has to be teacher rushing. Since you have this hobby, you still have to learn from the real masters. As Jiang Han spoke, he reluctantly stretched out his hand towards her. In front of his uncle, he wouldn't deliberately embarrass her. Since she insisted on giving it, he would just treat it as a small trinket and throw it into a corner when he got back. Jiang Shushu looked at him strangely, then calmly spread her hands. I didn't make many jade, they're all gone. Jiang Han. Jiang Shushu. After all, I'm just a hobbyist, not a professional. Jiang Han. Jiang Shushu was definitely doing this on purpose. It wasn't available? He didn't care. Jiang Han left in a huff, and Jiang Shushu ignored him. She hadn't planned to give one to everyone in the family anyway. She wouldn't be foolish enough to do the same thing twice. Moreover, the ones she had just given out were indeed the last 2. Jiang Shushu was thinking about finding some new materials to stock up on later when she went upstairs and heard her phone ring again with a notification of a deposit. She opened it and was dumbfounded. Jiang Yuqing transferred 10 million yuan to you. Jiang Shushu turned her head and saw Jiang Yuqing had followed her upstairs at some point. He looked at her with a hint of hidden heartache in his eyes. Your Uncle Song told me everything. Jiang Hushu. What did Song Yongming tell you? He said you didn't charge the Song family for treating their daughter because I had already paid a reward of 10 million. Jiang Yuqing said with some helplessness. Shushu, you are a sensible child, but the previous 10 million was for you to repay the Guan family and for your pocket money. Jiang Yuqing had indeed planned to compensate the Song family, but he didn't expect Shushu to be one step ahead of him, not only curing Song Yuli but also proactively taking care of the Jiang family's reputation. You maintain the relationship with the Song family for the family, but the family can't let you suffer. Jiang Yuqing said. Consider this 10 million as the reward we paid to you on behalf of the Song family. Keep it, and if it's not enough, ask me for more. Jiang Shushuan. Since distancing herself from Guan Ruirui, money suddenly seemed easier to earn. Although she felt there was nothing wrong with her waiving the Song family's fees on behalf of the Jiang family, she would take the money that was offered. Thank you, Dad. Jiang Shushu smiled slightly, abandoning her aloofness, and became well-behaved and sensible. Looking at her, Jiang Yuqing inexplicably had the urge to pat her head. He had seen Jiang Hui do it before. The hand hanging by his side moved slightly, hesitating, and carefully lifted up, but before he could raise his hand, Jiang Shushu nodded to him and turned to go back to her room. The hand that had just been raised fell down weakly again. Jiang Yuqing didn't show it on his face, and silently turned back to his study. On the other side, at the hospital, inside the VIP ward, Lu Xueshi lay on the bed with her eyes closed, her slightly pale face nestled in the snow-white pillows, making her look fragile and helpless. Jiang Cheng stood beside her, watching her carefully for a long time, his eyes full of pity and heartache. After a long while, he couldn't help but reach out, wanting to gently touch the girl's jade-like skin. His fingertips trembled, but just as he was about to touch her, the person on the bed suddenly fluttered her eyelashes and woke up. Jiang Qing quickly retracted his hand and tucked the blanket around her. Lu Xueshi looked at him, her eyes full of confusion. Brother Jiangcheng, what time is it? Why are you still here? I was worried about you being hospitalized alone. Jiang Cheng's voice was gentle. He simply said, I'm here watching over you. Thank you, Brother Jiangcheng. Lu Xueshi looked delighted, then lowered her eyelashes slightly, "Brother Jiangcheng, I want some water." Jiangcheng nodded immediately upon hearing this, and turned to pour her some water. Unseen by him, in the instant he turned around, the girl on the bed, who had been wearing a gentle smile, suddenly had a chilling look in her eyes. Chapter 59, Lu Xuexi's System. Lu Xuexi turned her gaze away irritably. The next second, a voice suddenly sounded in her mind. "Host, Jiangsu's affection value has now dropped to near the passing line. In order to ensure the borrowing of luck, please increase Jiangsu's affection value as soon as possible." "I know." Lu Xuexi was a little impatient. "If you hadn't said that lowering the yang energy on them would make it easier to extract luck, why would I have taken Jiangsu there? You clearly said before that ghosts wouldn't hurt me, so what were those threads all about? If it weren't for those threads coming at her, how could she have been frightened and subconsciously left Jiangsu and ran away? How could Jiangsu be angry with her because of that? She hadn't taken it too seriously when Jiangsu left in anger today. But she never expected that as soon as Jiangsu left, the system would suddenly send her a warning. Jiangsu's affection value had plummeted, and there was no sign of it recovering even now. You should know that she had spent a full 3 years to raise Jiangsu's affection value to above 85 points. As a result, it had dropped by 20 points all at once, and Lu Xuexi was extremely depressed. The system doesn't make mistakes. The system can ensure that the host will not be harmed by yin energy, but the threads are driven by resentment and are not within the scope of ghosts. The system's formulaic tone made Lu Xuexi even more irritable. She had accidentally obtained this system after moving into the Jiang family. With the system, she had easily obtained beauty, a good figure, and even a smart brain. Coupled with the luck she extracted later, her life could be said to be smooth sailing. Therefore, she always trusted and relied on the system's words very much. Who would have thought that she would suffer such a big setback this time? "You're the one who decides everything. Fortunately, Jiangsu is easy to coax. Don't worry, when I get out of the hospital and go home, I'll be able to bring his affection value back up quickly." Although Lu Xuexi had suffered a setback, she was not very worried. Jiangsu himself has a fiery temper, but it's the kind that flares up quickly and fades away just as fast. Over the years, Lu Xuexi had manipulated the Jiang brothers, getting to know their personalities inside and out. Thinking of this, she picked up her phone again and sent another message to Jiangsu. "Xiaosu, are you asleep? You didn't come to see me today either. Are you still angry with your sister? I haven't been sleeping well in the hospital these past few days. Whenever I think about what happened that day, I feel sad and regretful. I've never encountered anything like that before, and I still feel scared in my heart. Leaving you behind that day was really because I wanted to find someone to save you. I know you probably won't believe anything I say right now, but what I'm saying is all true. Xiaosu, I'm being discharged from the hospital tomorrow. Will you come pick me up?" After sending the long, handwritten message, Lu Xuexi took the warm water that Jiangcheng handed her, waiting for the system to report the rebound in favorability points. However, she waited for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. After finishing 2 glasses of water, there was no reply from him, and even the system displayed favorability value of Jiangsu remained unchanged. Lu Xuexi's expression turned a bit unpleasant. She didn't believe Jiangsu hadn't seen her message. Jiangsu was an internet addict who basically never let go of his phone. But why didn't he reply to her message? And even his favorability value remained unchanged? Could it be that he was really still angry with her? In that kind of situation that day, anyone would have made the same choice as her. Even if he was upset, the matter had already passed 2 days. Now that she was actively offering him a way out, he should have directly let go of his anger. Lu Xuexi felt that Jiangsu didn't know what was good for him. Perhaps her expression was a little unpleasant. Jiangcheng couldn't help but ask with concern. "Xuexi, what's wrong? Are you feeling unwell anywhere?" Jiangcheng looked straight at her, his eyes filled with worry and pity for her. Lu Xuexi pursed her lips, pretending to show a desolate smile. "It's nothing, it's just that I've been sending messages to Xiaosu these past 2 days, and he hasn't replied." As she spoke, she then revealed a bit of worry. "I'm also worried that he might have been frightened that day, and that something might be wrong with his body. He should have been hospitalized for observation for 2 days like me." When Jiangqing heard her say that Jiangsu wasn't replying to her messages, his face also turned a little unpleasant, feeling that Jiangsu was really being insensible. Then, thinking about how when he went home to take a shower and rest today, he saw Jiangsu lively and jumping around, huddling around Jiang Xiuxiu, he felt even more unworthy for Xueshi. Xueshi was still thinking about him while she was in the hospital. Jiangqing decided that he must teach that brat Jiangsu a good lesson when he went back tomorrow. Thinking this in his heart, Jiangqing didn't reveal the truth, so as not to make Xueshi sad, and only comforted her. Don't worry, maybe he's playing games again, and didn't see your message. As he spoke, he gently took Lu Xueshi's hand lying on the blanket, his voice soft. I saw Xiaosu when I went home today, he's fine, don't overthink it, you'll be going home tomorrow. Lu Xueshi felt the large hand on the back of her hand, and felt a little disgusted, but she still smiled gently on her face. Yeah, thanks to brother Jiangqing for being with me, otherwise I would definitely have overthought things again. She didn't withdraw her hand, and Jiangqing seemed to have forgotten that he was still holding her hand, and continued to coax her. Lu Xueshi absent-mindedly responded, but the system's voice rang in her mind again. Host Jiangqing's favorability +2, currently at 92 points. It is recommended that the host take the opportunity to accelerate the strategy. The higher the target's favorability, the more of the other party's luck value the host can extract. Lu Xueshi felt a little impatient when she heard the system's encouragement. I know. Of course she knew that the higher the favorability value, the more luck she could extract. She also knew how to make Jiangqing's favorability rise rapidly. After all, Jiangqing liked her. As long as she was willing to give him a little response, she could guarantee that Jiangqing's favorability would climb to 99 points in minutes. But she didn't want to do that. Using the body to exchange for favorability points is something only lowly women would do. Lu Xueshi has always had high standards for herself. Even if she doesn't need to flirt with someone, she can still handle them steadily, so why bother with unnecessary actions? Although Jiangqing can be considered outstanding in the second-generation circle, he still pales in comparison to Jiang Huai. What's more, there's also Chu Beihe. Thinking of Chu Beihe's appearance and his status in the circle, Lu Xueshi couldn't help but feel excited. Only a man like that is worth her putting in real feelings. Especially since Chu Beihe is someone with obsessive-compulsive disorder. Such a person must have high demands for their partner. Even for his sake, Lu Xueshi would never casually flirt with others. That would only lower her level. She was thinking to herself when she heard the system speak indifferently. Host, allow me to remind you that you've been trying to win over Chu Beihe for 3 years, and his favorability score is still stuck at 38. 30 of those points were the initial score given by the system, which means the actual score is only 8 points. The kind of score you get for helping an old lady cross the street. Lu Xueshi. No one would think you were broken if you didn't speak. Meanwhile, at the villa by the river, in the dimly lit room, a pale-faced young man was staring intently at the address just sent by the private detective on his phone. A trace of stubbornness shone in his gloomy eyes, and he murmured in a hoarse voice, Ruirui, I found you again.